The absolute best way I could explain the green room is that it is quite possibly the closest thing in the world to a functioning holodeck from Star Trek. The holodeck essentially being a simulation room that you can walk within and kind of do anything within. And when you step into the green room and put on an XR3, reality completely dissolves around you. This room is not real. This is not real furniture, and this is not a real rug. The sunlight shining through the windows isn't shining from the sun, yet my body and hands are present. I'm there. But the really trippy part was realizing that some of the furniture was actually real in the room, but I couldn't tell the difference. I thought everything I was seeing was a simulation until my hands brushed up against something physical, and I realized at this moment in time, I legitimately do not know what is real around me and what isn't. I can't distinguish the two. I've obviously been around real objects all my life, just like we all have been, and I've spent tens of thousands of hours in VR, but I have never truly gotten the two mixed up until now. And this just does something really weird to the brain. The only way I can try to explain this is, well, I want you to look around your room, or wherever you're at, and find an object, let's say a soda can. Imagine you move to grab that can, but your hand just passes right through. You realize at that moment that the can was virtual the whole time. It kind of makes you really look around and wonder what else is or isn't actually there. And that's kind of one of the craziest parts of mixed reality this high resolution, both in cameras and in displays. Those lines become blurred enough that you have no choice but to be immersed. Immersion is believing you're in a place, and nothing can make you more immersed than legitimately not knowing where you are and what's around you. The possibilities of something like this are insane, but we'll touch back on that in a second. Also, within the green room, I was able to test drive a Formula 1 car, but instead of the typical VR game virtual hands that don't match up with your own, the entire wheel was masked out and replaced with a virtual one, allowing my actual arms and hands to be in-game. And I'm not much of a car sim type of person, but this was incredible, leading to me getting lost in the simulation and experiencing a very harsh time distortion effect. What I thought was 10 minutes was closer to an hour, and by the time I was finished driving, I realized that I actually couldn't remember what was physically in front of me, where virtual reality started and where physical reality stopped. It wasn't until I took off the headset that I was reminded of my actual surroundings.
That is... Oh! Sorry, I got so distracted.
So the final room on this trip is the experimental room, where some of the crazier research is done.
Wait, so behind that door is...
things that you are not feeling.
Oh.
And this is where I experienced probably one of the most uncanny feelings in my life, like total chills up my spine. You know that feeling like there's someone in the room, or like someone is staring at you, or just something's off, just that general uneasy feeling? Well, that's what it feels like to have a full-scale metahuman stare at you, making faces in mixed reality this good. It's honestly pretty terrifying feeling a human presence in front of you, full size and looking almost as real as other humans around you, but knowing that this isn't a real person. All of the sensations that we've evolved to feel are still there, but there's just something off. And I know some people debate this, and that's fair, but feeling is believing, and well, I'm a believer. Brushing the avatar's arm and feeling warmth and tingles on my fingers and hairs stand up on my arms, this is actual phantom sense, and it's an evolutionary thing, like there's no debate here. Or feeling actual shock when I poked one of the metahumans and having them react, it's incredibly uncanny. I almost had this feeling like they were going to jump out at me or start chasing me. It's almost like a fight or flight instinct was kicking in. I think it's just a weird feeling of being in the presence of something that looks alive but isn't. And of course, I was also shown a more practical version of this test where I was placing down mixed reality furniture, which looked great and super realistic, but tables don't give me chills up my spine when they stare at me, so you can imagine which had a greater impact on me. But all I can really say as the takeaway is, what the hell? Like I said, I've been in VR long enough with all sorts of devices from cheap to expensive, and I have never mixed up reality and virtual reality. But here I am second guessing things even more than I did with my original XR3 demo, and I thought that was crazy. But I think the real crazy part is that a year ago, I thought this technology was years away, and that was optimistic. That this was the best we were going to have for a long time, and that good mixed reality was even further away. But Vario says this isn't even as good as it can get. Behind closed doors, it can and is even crazier. future. Which begs the question, if this is how good things are now with the available products, just imagine what is behind these closed doors. I'm always looking for the most immersive or craziest virtual reality technology out there to get that initial feeling of getting in VR for the first time. But what happens when that threshold is crossed and people really can't tell what's real and what isn't real right in front of them? When the lines get blurred so much that you're practically in your own hardware-based trip? Is this a beautiful thing, or is it a terrifying thing? Or maybe somewhere in between? Is it just another piece of tech, just another screen, or is it Pandora's box? Once opened, people never view typical reality as the same. I think this is a very valid question. It's not that existential when you think about it, because while businesses are using this technology to design cars or aid with training, the commercial world tends to take things in unexpected ways, and you never know where this could go. And I think now is both the perfect time to get excited for this sort of thing, but also to take it very seriously. Virtual reality and augmented reality isn't just Pokemon Go or Half-Life Alyx and floating hands. It is legitimately a perception-altering technology at this level. And mixed reality like this at this fidelity is so close to being in everybody's hands, and not costing $8,000. Shoot, the Quest Pro, meme or not, is releasing in just about 10 days, and that is a device literally built for mixed reality. Not quite as good as this, but it's also a fraction of the price, and that's exactly what's going to keep happening. Before you know it, VR and mixed reality and eventually augmented reality will just be one technology, even better than this is, and it'll be in everyone's hands. And it's all happening so much faster than I anticipated. Every time we feel like the industry has settled, a company like Varjo is going to come through around the corner and push the envelope even further, just blurring those lines between virtual and reality until maybe there is no line. And what was out of reach as a dream for most people is quickly becoming more and more accessible. We've just got a very interesting future ahead of us. I kind of just hope we're ready for it, because if you think about how society has changed pre-phone or pre-social media to now, I think we're on a weird paradigm shift that will sort of change a lot of things.